Hello everyone! In this video we are going to talk about Omarchy. And yes, I've been using it for 3 weeks on this ThinkPad down there, and it has been a pretty good experience, but yeah, we'll talk about it. Are you ready? Let's get into it. So why are we talking about Omarchy today, and why did I install it on my laptop? Well, the first thing you need to understand is what Omarchy is all about. Omarchy is an opinionated Arch-based distro. So it has been created by GHH, which is a well-known dev out there. I've looked at him, watched some of his videos. It seems pretty cool. I won't be talking about the character, but more about the product here and what he's pushing. And guys, we have seen Omarchy everywhere. It's one of the most trending distro out there. So you know me, even before it was trending, I put my hand into it. The distro was not even a distro, it was just a post Arch install script. So you would have to install Arch, then run the script to run it. Now it's not the case anymore. You download the ISO, put it there, and install it on your PC. The distro itself is kind of interesting because it bridges a certain gap. It bridges the gap for the developer, which are mainly using Windows and Mac, to make them use Linux. I know it might sound a little bit confusing, but I'm pretty sure there is a lot of dev out there who want to have a better experience when it comes to coding, productivity, and working in general, right? And Linux arrive at a point right now where it's so easy to install, have so many tools, that it becomes a good alternative. There is still, I would say, a little bit of work to get there. And what GHH did and his community is they kind of reduce this gap for making the barrier to entry for those devs really easier. So yes, I'm not a coder, right? I'm not a dev, but I use my laptop a lot. And I do believe that this distro is really shining on an environment where you have one screen and you need to type something, whether it's code, whether it's like my script for all my video, or just, to SSH in one of your servers out there. This type of, I would say, environment, the way it's set up by GHH is just awesome. And we're going to get into it, but I just want you to understand, what this distro is really, aiming for. It's not a distro for gamer. It's not a distro for content creator. It kind of, in my case, because I used it, I was super happy about it. Spoiler alert, there is still some negative. We'll talk about them too. But this is more aiming for dev. Okay, I'm repeating myself, but this is really important. So when it comes to bridging the gap, Omarchy is based on Arch and use Hyperland. And the way it's actually packaged, it comes with everything set up for you. You have nothing to do. You just need to install it. The installation is super fast because most of the options are already made by the distro itself. It's ready opinionated, and you just go through it, and it will give you the experience of someone who spent a lot of time configuring those .files for Hyperland out of the box. You have a lot of flexibility, and we'll talk about it into the Pro and stuff, but really, this is what this distro brings. You have no idea about Linux, you come here, install, boom, you are running Hyperland like a boss. Now you got a pretty good view of what the distro is all about. Let's go back to our main approach when it comes to reviewing distro, the Pro and the cons. And I'm gonna start with the Pro. The first point, which I believe is the most important point of this whole work, is the fact that this distro is great for the newcomer. Right off the box, you're gonna have the full immersion into the Hyperland/Linux world with Arch, and without any hassle. The installation process runs without any issue. whether you have an AMD card, Intel card, or anything. I've been testing it on both of my machine and on the laptop. It's gonna be great. No installation problem. There is some limitation. We'll be talking about it in the cons, but it's super easy, super straight to the point. When you come to newcomer, the wiki of the distro itself is super fluid, and I learned some stuff. Like I've been using Linux for a long time. While going through the wiki of Omarchy, I was still learning things. So not learning like from a Linux standpoint, but more learning through some of the application I did discover with the bundle of app Omarchy is packaged with. For example, like LazyVim. I didn't know about LazyVim. Obviously, I'm not a dev, but I think LazyVim is pretty cool. Kind of like discover new application through this distro. I was pretty nice. And the wiki does a really good job like dumbing down all those like, I would say like technical stuff when you come to Hyperland. And this is definitely a good job from GHH here. Like I have to say the wiki is pretty nice. The second important point is the customization. Even if Hyperland come with a frame which is already built by GHH, you will see that you have a lot of like freedom within this frame. So let's say you want to change the theme. You have a simple menu, you just press a button, bam, you go from Mochaccino to Nor in like one click. And the way it has been implemented is really good. One of the best out there. So obviously there is already a theming god, like I think it's Jakul or M4L, who have been like provided good dot file for Hyperland configuration since forever, I would say. But this implementation of GHH is also really good. It will be like more aligned with my test in general, because I think it's a little bit simpler than the overall like theming experience I got before. But this is really personal, don't want to go there. But here, you have like little detail which are including in the distro, which are just awesome. So I'll give you two examples. If you look at Plymouth, so Plymouth is what is loaded when you go from the bootloader to your operating system. And here, when you start, you're gonna have like this Omarchy screen with the password totally like revamped and themed. And this is awesome, right? And it's not something you can do with a post-install script, I believe, because this is directly like pushed within the bootloader and Limine. So the experience is really nice. The second one I want to mention is related to Chrome. Chrome has always been like a real issue when it comes to theming, because it doesn't follow like all the different like colors, specification. So it's always like an extra work that need to be done on top of the, like Hyperland.file. Here, DHH launched some type of bounty for making Chrome totally like aligned with the theme is using and proposing within the distro. And I know it's a little detail for some, most of the users, they won't care, but me, I was really appreciative of that. When you switch to, again, like Nor theme, now Chrome out of the box has the Nor theme, and all the applications which are like bundled with Omarchy, they follow the same system. So honestly, like this is one of the best implementation of the theme and the switch of theme within a distro. And it needs to be put in advance because it's a lot of work and it's a really good feature in my opinion. The third point I want to mention is related to the battery autonomy on my machine. When you run any type of like fancy, nice operating system, and I would say like desktop environment, you are always scared that it's gonna drain the battery so fast because it's so fancy. There is so many animation left and right. You're gonna be like, darn, it's gonna suck the energy out of my PC and I won't be able to take advantage of it. Guess what? Here, I got exactly the same battery usage than with my non-bloated CachyOS KDE install that I was using on this machine before switching. So yes, battery autonomy is there, and I was not disappointed. To give you an idea, I can get up to 10 to 12 hours with the usage I make with this machine out there. Like it's, I think it's 3 years old ThinkPad or 4 years old ThinkPad. I bought it for $350. Listen to me, dude. Like, this was a really good surprise. Now the fourth point, and this is not related to filming, even if it kind of sounds like it. It's related to the choice of application within the distro. So you are locked on Hyperland, you are locked on the theming that DHH provide, and we'll talk about that in the course. But most of the applications that have been like pushed, I have to say, they are really nice because it's a mix between GUI application, but also like TUI application. So let's say you want to add a sound card on Hyperland. Well, here you go on your WebAR like configuration. I don't want to get too complex here, but you go at the top and you will have access to this little like TUI selection by GHH, which give you like I would say like a really nice experience. Okay, you're gonna be like, "Hey, Max, what are you talking about?" Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to have sometime like a mix between like GUI and TUI, and I was kind of surprised. I was like, "Whoa, this is nice. This application works well." Tac tac tac. I don't know. I think it was really nice the way he has done this, and even if I'm like used to Linux in general, it's always interesting to discover new apps within the world of Linux. And to that, I want to say like, good job, especially like the TUI for the sound card, the TUI for the Bluetooth. It was really good. But you know the drill on this channel. We also need to talk about the negative point. And before we jump into them, I need to make a disclaimer. I used Omarchy for 3 weeks and I was quite happy until I was not. And there is a lot of, I think, of cons which might totally block you if you are, I would say, not a beginner when it comes to Hyperland. You're gonna see some opinionated decisions that might really hurt your like your feeling. Let's word it this way: your feeling when you use the distro on a daily basis. So the first one is related to how it is kind of like complicated to modify some stuff within Omarchy. So if you like the frame and you want to kind of like remove some of the application you don't need, there is some application which are being pushed by DHH because this is the one you use. Then you're gonna have to put your hand under the hood, and this can become, I would say, like problematic. So let me get this straight to the point. The whole advantage of using Omarchy right now is that you don't have to write your Hyperland configuration or aka like .file by yourself. Someone else did it for you. But because someone else did it for you, you might be in a position where you don't like some of them. And what I noticed with those 3 weeks of like playing around with the distro, it might become harder on the long term to modify a work that someone has already done rather than you starting fresh from scratch. I don't know if it makes a lot of sense, but I'm telling you, I start to reach some limits there. If you look at the way DHH implemented everything, you still have the freedom to change whatever you want. And this, I think it's awesome. Okay, you are not really stuck. But the freedom within those changes is still limited because you are not the captain. So there is a correct way to do it and to live through the different update of Omarchy itself, and you still have like your own stuff, but you're gonna be still, again, like limited. And this is the big roadblock I kind of like went through. So that will be my first one. The second one I need to mention, and it's related to Hyperland. It's not really like the Omarchy team thought. it's the fact that there is always new feature within Hyperland, like a lot of new feature. One thing I really liked, and I discovered because I never really used Hyperland on my laptop, is the fact that you can switch between like desktop with your free finger on the trackpad. And I was like abusing that. So I discovered this feature and I put it right away into my configuration. Everything worked well. It was really an awesome experience. And then, for whatever reason, Hyperland changed it, which means that from my perspective, I need to re-go into the configuration file and I need to, retype everything, reset up everything, read the wiki of Hyperland. And I was like, bro, like I don't have time for that. When I use this laptop, I want it open, type, send it to the server, close, end of story. I don't want to have to do anything else. I want the thing to be working out of the box. And I understand, like in most of the operating system, you need a first phase to tinker and arrive at a point where you become really pro-efficient and productive in your workflow. I get it, but I don't want to get, put out of my workflow like a bit because there is some type of new feature and it kind of like push me away from my, like productivity, like standard. Then I was like, bro, like enough. Like this was the first issue I had with kind of like the approach overall. And it really frustrated me, guys. The second issue I got, even if it's still related to that, was linked to the fact that there is a lot of application like I didn't want. It just didn't work out for me. I don't need 1Password. I don't need like all those web apps. I don't need any of those. So I went to the process of like removing all of them, which is fine, okay? Like because it's an OpenIRT distro, you have to live with it. But then my main, I would say like application I use on my ThinkPad is Kitty. I don't use Alacrity, okay? Don't ask me why. It's preference. There is a lot of features that Kitty provides and Alacrity doesn't. And so I was like, let's get rid of Alacrity and just install Kitty. But what I noticed after that is that I couldn't upgrade some of my Omarchy setup. And I couldn't do it because Omarchy depends on Alacrity. Like it's required. Even if you don't use it as a main terminal emulator, you still need it on your machine. So I discovered it. I should have read the wiki better. It's my fault. Okay, like it's on me. But I know some of the users out there, they're going to be kind of frustrated by that. They're going to be like, man, I have to keep this application for this. I need to keep this application for that. Otherwise, like your whole system start to be like half broken. So it still run, but you won't have update or something in the background is not going to show up. And on the long run, you're going to be, like stuck. So something to think about if you want to jump to Omarchy. Now let's talk about gaming and content creation. This is based on Hyperland. You already know my point of view when it comes to Hyperland for gaming. And because it's based on it, obviously, like your gaming experience is going to be Hyperland dependent. So that's the first point. Second point is that if you go into the environment settings for the whole system that DHH push there, it might hurt your gaming experience. So you're going to be like, what are you talking about? Yes, Omarchy provide some feature. For example, like the install of Steam is really easy in Omarchy. You go through the main menu. You can install RetroArch or Minecraft. Like there is some like, I would say like easiness to install those free application and gaming in general. But because the way like the overall like platform is configured, or at least as it was at the time, because I know like GHH want to make it like more gaming friendly, you will encounter problem. So one example, in the full system environment, Wayland is forced. And right now, Wayland is still like, struggling to run some game natively. And while I was testing the distro, I noticed that some of the games, they won't even launch, because they have to go through X Wayland. And because you force Wayland, problem start to arise, right? I'm not even talking about performance here. I'm just talking about the fact that everything is so set up in a certain way that gaming might become limited. And I wanted you to be aware of that. I know some of the users here are going to be like, yeah, but it worked on my machine. I game on this game and stuff. Yes, it's good. But there is a lot of case scenario where you're going to encounter issue. The good news is that GHH has been listening to the community. I believe he really wanted to make more gaming friendly, which is good. We'll see how it goes. I might have to do a follow-up, full video about this. The other good point is that in the future, if you want to install CachyOS repo on this Omarchy distro, because this is what I've done on my ThinkPad here right off the box, you can do it, no problem. I didn't encounter any issue. It could become a really good platform for gaming, but as it is right now, it's kind of in a meh state. So the third point is related to the way the distro install itself on your machine. And I say install itself because you don't have option. And not having option sometimes is a plus, but it's also like a negative. And I'm going to explain why. In my particular case scenario, I use it on a laptop, and I would like to have the hibernation working. On Linux, if you want to have hibernation working, you need to have a swap partition or a swap file. So here, without getting too technical, the only option to install Omarchy on your machine is to use a full encrypted disk. You can't have two operating systems on this disk. You can't have dual boot on the same disk. I'm repeating myself, or triple boot or whatever. You have only one option. You could dual boot, but it's going to require another drive. The installer of Omarchy will take your drive, create a boot partition, and then an encrypted partition for the rest of the drive. It's going to erase everything. So this is not really negative, in my opinion. It's just a vision. You agree with it or not. That's a different point of view. But I think that in my particular case, because it's set up this way and I don't have a swap partition, I couldn't hibernate my ThinkPad. And my ThinkPad in sleep mode is just sucking so much energy. It's related to the hardware and the way it's set up. It just drains the battery. So I like the hibernation mode. Just be like, toop, hibernate, close it for 2 days, reopen it. I'm exactly where I left it at, and I'm good to go, right? Well, with this distribution, I just can't get it. I just can't, okay? And that's a problem. That's a big problem. So I believe GHH decided to go this way because hibernation doesn't work with NVIDIA card very well. And so because of the NVIDIA issue, he decided to totally bypass it. And I understand, because most of the laptop, unfortunately, they are shipped with NVIDIA. My ThinkPad is not. It's full AMD. Yes. But yeah, that's a problem. And the last one related to the installation is the encryption part. Because as I mentioned, your full disk is going to be encrypted. And the vision of GHH on that is that you don't have a login manager. I know it sounds crazy, but the way it works with this distro, you boot your PC, you arrive on the bootloader, which is Limine, for the one who know, really good choice. I really like Limine the more I used it. But you arrive on this bootloader. And this bootloader, you have to type a password to launch the operating system. This is the password which will give you access to the encrypted data on your hard drive. Well, this password is also the password you use for your user. And here, I'm not super happy about that. Okay, from overall usage, daily usage, it's kind of a pain in the, Let me explain. You want this encrypted partition to have a strong password. Okay, like a huge password. In case someone steals your hard drive, you don't want to have a small password. The fact that it's linked with your account, on paper, is not really a problem, but it makes just the usage more painful. Okay, it makes it more painful because now you don't have hibernation, which means you're gonna have to stop the PC. At least I had to. When you boot, you're gonna have to retype this crazy password, okay? And you have to retype the same password each time you make an update or you want to install something. Like each time you use your, like route account, you're gonna have to use it again. Now you're in this weird position where when you install and you are aware of that, you might go with a simpler password, but then it becomes, in my opinion, like a security risk. You don't want to have a small password for your disk encryption. So, you know the dilemma here? In this case, what I would love to have is a password for the disk encryption and a password for user. That's all. Just differentiate both of them and you have best of both worlds. And if on top of that, you give an option to add a swap partition during the install, now we are goated. But I believe like this is the type of roadblock that a lot of users are going to be really fed up with. All right, so how do we conclude this one? This one is kind of a mixed bag, but I believe that overall it's a win for Linux. So let me explain. I think this is crazy that we see dev like GHH putting the word and showing to the world how great Linux is, and especially for productivity. Like if you are using any type of operating system right now and never tried Linux and Hyperland, Omarchy is the best way to get your feet into the weed. Can I say that? I don't know, but like it's your first step to try an alternative to what you were using before. There is no question about it. This, for me, is a huge win. The fact that GHH has such a great visibility. Like, for example, I've been saying that Linux gaming is just awesome for more than 3 years. And I have a serious following base, but not as big as someone like GHH. And when you have someone like him saying it, he has bigger repercussion. And this is great. Like, this is great for all the users out there, right? Because the word is getting spread out, and now like the devs are like, hey, I'm tired of, overpaying for my Mac app for the hardware they provide. Can I try something else? Yes, you can. And you have an alternative which is not complicated to install on your machine. So obviously, Hyperland kind of like requires a little bit of time to get used to the keyboard shortcuts and everything. But it's nothing. Like, honestly, it's nothing. If you are used to, over like keyboard shortcut, it's pretty easy to change. As I mentioned in this video, the basic changes on Omarchy are super simple. You just go through the wiki, everything is explained. Your changes are going to be maintained through the upgrade of Omarchy, which is also awesome. If you did it right, you still need to do it right. But overall, like I think this is a really like a net positive for Linux. For the other Linux user, for the Linux user who are already into like the weed, right? People who use Linux on a daily basis for months, years, I'm not sure this distro is for you. I don't think it is. I want to be honest. I think the opinionated approach, it's kind of like interesting for you to go through it. I had a lot of fun using it because I still learned like things, right? Like the application, the vision of GHH, I believe is really interesting to go through. So when you install the distro on your PC, you're kind of like projected in the world of GHH, and you're like, oh wow, this is how it does work, this is how it does things. It's cool, right? But it might not be adapted to your original existing workflow. And my main, I would say like a remark here, and the reason why I had to install is that there is too many opinions that I don't share with GHH when it comes to handling my hardware. It doesn't make his vision bad and my vision better. This is not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if you are, sharing different approach, rebuilding on top of his work is just too complicated. And so that's the reason why I was like, meh, it's not for me. Simple as that. But overall, yes, Omarchy, for a new user, you want to get into it, or you want to discover Hyperland, you want to have the vision of someone else on your hardware, and you might love it, I would say go for it. Like, there is no question about it. Yeah, that's it. That's all, guys. I'm going to continue to monitor it for the gaming side, because I think it could be interesting to see all those Linux dev get into gaming. Could be pretty fun to watch. And yeah, that's it. That's all, guys. Thank you again for supporting the channel. Don't forget to put a thumbs up, a comment down there. Tell me what you think about the distro, if you had the opportunity to try it, or if you think that I'm totally like miss the point of the distro. It can happen sometimes. But yes, 3 weeks of Omarchy, it's done. Also, all the members of La Crème de la Crème Club who are supporting the channel through PayPal, membership on YouTube, on Patreon or on Twitch, you guys are the best. Thank you very much for your support, and see you in the next one. Bisous, bisous.